Hello! I'm so happy you're here for the exciting release of Altenew's hot foil plates. I finally took the dive and got a hot foil machine myself after doing a ton of research and contemplation about which machine to buy. I finally settled on the Gemini foil press, and I do have the large Gemini machine. So before I get into these new beautiful products, I wanted to give a brief overview of this machine and also show a test of some cardstocks, which I think is the most important thing when it comes to hot foiling. Here's the foil press machine. It has different heat settings plus the minute and second timer, and it comes with the large magnetic tweezers to remove your hot foil plates from the platform. This machine also comes with the metal sham, which can be used to foil the negative piece of foil for a really cool look, and then you don't have any waste. Now, because I have the large die cut machine, I bought the extended top plate separately so I could run it through that machine, but it does come with the plate for the Gemini Junior. There's also the silicone mat to put the hot foil plates onto and the finger gripper so you can remove the platform without burning yourself. As I was saying, I think it's really important what cardstock you use for hot foiling, and I've tried quite a few. The ones I like the best are the Hamilco White Glossy 100 pound and the Hammermill Premium Color Copy 100 pound. If you really don't use a good smooth cardstock, it doesn't foil well and the foil comes out dull and not shiny. I thought I would show a little quick experiment on these two using some silver Gemini foil, and I use a low heat setting and 15-second on the timer on that. I'm going to use the new Sparkle Bright set because this set not only has a foil plate, but it also has a stamp set that you can layer with after you foil. And I'm going to use both of the cardstocks on this. So you're going to put your plate down face up, and then you're going to kiss your foil onto it so they're going to face each other. And then I'm going to use the Hamilco cardstock on this first one. I'm going to foil them both the same and just kind of show you the difference between the two. So after I run that through the die cut machine, I can dock the platform, and then we'll take a look at the result. And super pretty and shiny, like I was saying. And I'll do the same thing with the Hammermill cardstock. I'll put the foil plate back on the platform, the foil pretty side down towards the plate, the cardstock on top, and then the top plate on top of that. And the same time. There is nothing more frustrating to me than spending your time and wasting supplies when they don't turn out. So hopefully this helps you. And we'll take a look at this cardstock, and they both just turned out really beautiful. But here's the difference between the two cardstocks that I found. So here's the Hamilco again. And I'm going to stamp that. So I stamped the outline from the stamp already, and the issue I had was stamping the solid stamps. A lot of the hot foil plates that have come out have stencils to color them in, but this one has a layering stamp. So on the Hamilco cardstock, the ink on the solid stamp beads up a bit and doesn't absorb into it as quick. It eventually does, but it's better to stamp it with a really light hand, or you can get almost a watercolor look. Here's the second layer of the flower, and I just wanted to show what it looked like when you would layer the stamps on top of each other. I really do love this cardstock and how it behaves with ink blending through stencils, and the color is always really vibrant. When this dries and when it absorbs into the paper, it's really vibrant too with the stamping. So again, I'm going to do the same thing with the Hammermill cardstock, and I've stamped the outline with the jet black ink. And this is Silver Lake on the first layer, and you can see it doesn't bead up, and it just absorbs in just like normal cardstock that you use. And here's the second layer of that. The Hamilco is a lot brighter, but this just is a lot less frustrating to me when you're stamping with the layering stamps. Here's a comparison of the two, and you can see when they dry, they look pretty much the same, but it's while you're stamping it that was frustrating me. So I went back in and actually added this part to the video, just because I thought it was important to show. And I'm just showing here kind of how I keep all of my foil in this cosmetic organizer. So now to create something with these beautiful products, this is the Gilded Rose hot foil plate, and look at that gorgeous big plate. I just love it. And it has the stencils, and Altenew has now numbered the stencils, and so it makes it really easy to know which one to use first. And here's the layering guide, which shows how to use the stencils. I'm using some tape as a hinge to hook my cardstock and plate together, and then I'll put some foil in between it to the pretty side down on the plate. And then I can put my top plate on and run it through the die cut machine. I'm using the Spellbinders Aura foil, so I did up the time on this to 20 seconds and a medium heat setting. I do find those settings work best for the Spellbinders foil. On the Gemini foil, I can use the 15 seconds and the low setting. Here's the piece I was talking about, the negative piece on winning foil, that you can save and use that metal shim, and you can foil your entire cardstock piece with that. And if you get a little bit of overfoiling, just use a sand eraser and it really comes right off. This is an example of the chemical cardstock, and I'm going to ink blend on it with the stencil set using 3 of the inks from the Tea Party ink set. Using the Coral Bliss ink first and the solid stencil, I'll use a large blending tool to start the base layer of coloring. You can see as I start to do this that the cardstock really grabs the ink color, and so I was worried that I was ruining it. I just kind of kept going to see what was going to happen. But I decided to just kind of wing it and just kind of play with the cardstock. I ended up switching to the small blending tool, and it really starts to smooth out, and I liked it lots better. Whenever this happens to me, I just decide to keep going with it and really chalk it up to a learning experience. So now I'm going to take the second stencil, and I'll line that up, and I'll use the next ink, which is Heartbeat. I'm going to keep working with a small blending tool. I feel like I have a lot more control with that tool. And by the way, these were cardstocks that were suggested that were good for hot foiling that I found when I was doing my research, and so I wanted to give them a try and pass on my experience. On to the third stencil here, I'm going to use the Vineyard Berry, and I'll add some darkness to the center of the rose. As I keep going and the ink dries, I'm just liking it even more and more. And I always like to wipe off my stencil before I take it off, just to make sure I don't smear it anywhere. There's a fourth layer on the third stencil, and I'm going to use Velvet ink, which is from a different ink family, but I needed something darker to add some shade to the center, and this color worked great with the other reds. I was super happy how this turned out when I lifted off that last stencil. I was so excited about the hot foil plate that I really wanted it to turn out. I feel like because of the nature of the smooth cardstock that the inks really do show up super vibrant. I cut it down so it's a little offset at 4 by 5 1/4, and I'll end up backing it on another red cardstock. For the sentiment, I wanted to show that you could take a plain die cut it from the smooth cardstock, and this is the new Congrats die set. And then you're going to lay the metal shim down first. This is in place of the hot foil plate, and lay down your foil pretty side down towards the shim, and then lay down your word die upside down and so it reads backwards. And then I put 3 cardstock shims on top and then the top plate. When I use this method, I set the foil press to a medium heat and set the timer to 30 to 40 seconds, and then run it through my die cut machine 3 or 4 times. This might be a little bit overkill, but I found this really works great, and it's different than using a foil plate that embosses into the cardstock. I added another plain die cut behind it to make it sturdy and give it dimension, and then I added it onto the shadow, which I cut out of a dark red cardstock, just like the back panel. It really is a simple card, but I wanted that foiled rose to be the star of the show. I thought I would show some of the other hot foil plates that are part of this release, and here's the Sparkle Bright set that I demonstrated the cardstock with at the first of the video, and it has the stamp, the die, and the hot foil plate, which is really pretty detail on the flower. I also use the new Dotty Circles 3D embossing folder and the sentiment banner hot foil plate and die, which you can see here. It's one big plate and one big die to fit all your sentiments. There's also the Tiny Patterns hot foil plate set, which you could do so many things with, and I decided they were a perfect size to make tags with for the holidays. All the supplies I used are listed in the description below, and I have more information and photos on my blog. I hope this video was helpful to you for hot foiling, and I'm really enjoying my machine and love to create something with it whenever I get the chance. I have another video I'll post at the end here that you might like about hot foiling, where I use heat resistant acetate. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I hope your day is great doing something you love.